Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. I was part of the first edition last year, and I'm equally happy to be here the second time. I know most of you in the room, and I won't hesitate in admitting that out of the many other places, this is also the room that I belong. I can easily call this a room full of my people. Of course, I have my favorites. What I mean is, we care, we refer, we recommend, and we have each other's back. I guess so. Aiming straight at the topic of this panel discussion, whether independent PR firms have an edge in offering specialized services. And no one's looking for a yes or a no sort of an answer. We know the strengths that an independent PR firm brings with it. In fact, I have just the right people on the panel for this. I have Amitabh Saksena, who excels in entertainment and lifestyle PR. I have Hussain Kalolwala, whose expertise lies in corporate communications and stakeholder communications. I have Nandini Naik, for whom content is the king. And I have Priti, who holds strength in the sector of health and life sciences. Before I dive deep into the conversation, I just want to set the tone by asking, in fact, everybody in the room, not just the panel members, that what's that one word that comes to you when I say independent PR firms? And you cannot take long. Just the first word, emotion, first connect. Anyone, any one of you, anyone who wants to go first? We'll take first five. Oh, who said it? That was my word. Yeah, Amitabh, do you want to go?
For me, sorry.
Thank you.
Like I told you, be the David, not the Goliath. So
David all the way.
And that's the personalization is for me the key.
Yeah, I think freedom is something that aptly defines we as independent PRs, and it gives us a lot of freedom is defined as agility, freedom is defined in decision making and whatever we feel in terms of growth, risk, whatever it is. I think that defines, but over the period of time when all of us, when we start to grow, somewhere down the line, we have to strike a balance between freedom and a structured growth process that the
Send one word.
I'll stick to freedom.
Nandini.
I think it's connection. It's connection and growth. Because when you are independent and you offer specialized services, but you also want to grow along with your clients and you also want to grow along with your team. So that can only happen when you have the ability to decide for yourself that I want to do this, I can do it. And that's really very nice in a creative field like this, to have the ability to go in any direction that your client wants you to go.
I would say the same thing in one word, is agility. Because
Lovely.
that gives the reason to be able to move the way you want and offer any kind of service that, of
Right.
course, within the space that you're offering. But there are multiple things to do, which as an independent agency you can.
Great. So these, oh yeah, Vineet.
Responsibility.
Yes, independent PR firms. So I think these one words that we heard just now, these are the strengths, these are the elements that lend us that edge in offering specialized services. The decision for a brand to go for an independent PR firm comes down from a desire for specialized services, for personalized approach, and a very result-driven partnership kind of a relation rather than a client-agency rapport. So I did ask a couple of friends on the brand side as to what would their top two reasons be if and when they were to, prefer an independent PR firm over the rest of the options. And what came up is nothing new to us, but it's definitely worth discussing. So the most common one, and if I go alphabetically, I'll ask Amitabh first, niche expertise. And we've heard that before in this room. But what is your view, Amitabh, on niche expertise as a factor that lends an edge to independent PR firms?
I can say it personally, not really for everybody in the room, but essentially, it really depends on what your philosophy is with the company. So ours was small is beautiful, so we stuck to a niche. And we chose lifestyle because that's the client we started getting when we started our company. And that became the single most important thing for us. So And we went out for clients which were niche and worked in that space very, very strongly and continuously.
I do have like a very small counter here, but, what about the firms who have diversified, who have not been able to cover? We've had this conversation in the room earlier, like maybe not everybody carved out a niche for themselves, and someone like me who started out and work started coming in, I didn't say no to anything, and after 5 years I see that, I do everything now. So is that a disadvantage?
Personally, I feel you actually, somewhere you realize that you enjoy working with a set of clients more than the others. Like we clearly don't want to touch pharma. We are happy to pass it on to Priti here. So we in fact are looking for partners. I'm very happy to meet people like I met Hussain, who does a very specific job, and I'd rather pass it on to him than try doing a bad job of it. So that works for me. And down the line, I think you have a gut feel that this is the area that I really enjoy working in. This is the area that I truly belong to, and that's where you start specializing slowly, even if you have started with a general base. And I think that's the key.
Hussain has created an advocate right here. Hussain, you have views on niche expertise. I know you wanted to contribute.
Yeah, I'm really humbled by your appreciation. Thank you so much. So what we do is we are a corporate communication consultancy, and we specialize in stakeholder communication. So I would love to interact with you, ma'am, in terms of the frameworks that we have created. But yeah, annual reports, ESG reports, sustainability reports. So we work with more than 300 clients. But what niche? Once for an annual report, we interact from the C-suite till the function heads of each companies. Now, what that requires is that we understand the business model. So there is a team of content experts and everything that, we deep dive into businesses. So once I think we come across as somewhere we strike a balance between an investor relations company and an ad agency. So we understand the business, we communicate them, we write that content. We have a team of designers who put that communication in a much more readable manner or aesthetic manner. Once we do that, clients do come back to us saying that, okay, we have, a website to do. Would you be able to do that? We want to make a corporate film, because going to an ad agency for a corporate film, for them to understand the business, write the content will be a whole new laborious exercise for, the client itself. So over the period of time, we started doing one, then we started picking up more work. But then that niche itself, we could not divulge from the annual reports and the stakeholder communications that we do. But then we are trying to create a separate team which does not contradict and does not eat away the pie that we are specialized in. But over the period of time, we feel that outsourcing to freelancers or somebody else creates responsibility that we lose away from the clients who come to us with some amount of trust that okay, these guys are there, they'll do it. So slowly we are building our capabilities across different verticals where we can rather horizontally grow and not vertically grow, but stick to our core expertise.
If I can jump in. So I think niche is really interesting because it's either you are specific to the domain and people want domain knowledge. So they want to understand that what cloud is, or they want to understand that that in GCCs employee engagement is important, or in manufacturing safety is a concern. So these things are things that they don't want to spend so much time trying to explain to their agencies all the time. And so domain knowledge is one factor that attracts them. The second thing is niche in terms of services, like what we do. We do content and annual reports or PR or whatever. So in the industry that we work in, expertise is very siloed because we had to put in so much time working on our craft. And so our craft is content, right? And so we worked on our craft of content, and you worked on your craft of media relations, and somebody else worked on their craft of design and video and stuff like that. But there is a space now where it's all coming together. So niche has really gotten us to where we are, but the next stage is going to be where everything is going to come together. And this is what I feel.
Priti, do you want to comment on niche? Because I have another question for you. So, besides this one, I feel cost effectiveness is also another factor that clients do consider. And why should brands or, like startups or brands from niche industries or brands that are bootstrapped have to pay, the overheads rigid, have to go through the rigid structures of larger PR firms, where a smaller PR firm or an independent PR firm can easily offer competitive pricing and, package the same thing with, to you. So, do you have any thoughts on cost effectiveness being an important factor that lends an edge to the independent PR firms?
So maybe this question is not right for me because my domain in specialization is pharma, healthcare, and life sciences, which is such a very complicated industry, both in terms of its what I would say is the brands and the medical content and everything that goes behind it, the understanding of about all of that, not only pharma but also allied industry. But more than that is the regulations. Okay? The regulations is totally embroiled in regulations. And there, in fact, niche becomes better. And we can command a certain price because of the niche and the domain expertise and the regulation understanding that we have, which is not just about the direct about the product, but it's also about the channels and the media, and including the new media. Because what happens is healthcare is that, and particularly because we do integrated services, so when it goes on to any kind of media, what should be spoken by the KOL, what should not be spoken, what image should go onto a social media and what should not be, will it be accepted by the platform or will it be rejected? All of these things are at every level, okay, important. And that is why we think that we are experts in that and we are able to give better value to the client for all of this. To give you a simple example.
Yeah, there's a connected question then, the direction that we are going, that for a specialized agency, for a specialized firm, is it worth staying in one part of the peso, which is paid, earned, shared, and owned offerings, or offer all the services under one roof? What you were saying.
So I will speak for my industry. I think that as far as pharma and healthcare is concerned, yes, it is good to spread out to everything, because one, if you are in one particular industry, your scaling up is important, and for that going into further niche of offering only one kind of service, if say for example only earned or only this, is limiting oneself furthermore. But the need of the hour is, with so many channels and media coming about, it's important to integrate all of that. And that is what we have been trying to educate the industry to do since the time these channels have emerged. And it's only now that the industry is really understanding it well. It's taken them some time. And after having learned the hard way at times by going to multiple different agencies and burning their fingers. I was just giving you an example the other day. Some agency had put up, I'm not necessarily talking about India, but there was an agency who put up a hoarding with an X-ray, a pulmonary X-ray, which was exactly opposite. It was reverse. Okay, and it actually went up on the hoarding. Now, how would one know all those nuances if you don't understand the domain? Okay. Another thing, similar things have happened. Okay, even ethics plays a very, very important role in healthcare and pharma. Take, for example, the very, very well-known issue that recently happened about the HPV vaccine, where it was all over. Okay, that an actress was declared dead, okay, and actually later on turned out to be just a gimmick. But these kind of gimmicks are not in good spirit in this field. And one needs to marry the regulations, the domain knowledge, the ethics, and all of it, and the deep health insights that we have across the spectrum. Because in healthcare, the spectrum runs from the doctor to the consumer and the allied field that is there. And it also has a lot of B2B industrial PR that needs to be done. So all of that is like, it's a lot of spectrum that can be covered there and requires a lot of domain expertise. And it's not so easy to get for somebody who's not from that field. So that's it.
So again, carving out a niche, and all of it stems from that. But if I come back to the factors that give us that strength, so we offer specialized services. Amitabh, I'm asking you, just give us a real example of maybe you working on a client. What do you, for agility and quick adaptation that independent PR firms can get into based on client needs and the flexibility we have, no rigid structures?
Yeah, sure. Just to add to her, I mean, the whole idea is to be the Michelangelo, be the Pollock of your industry, rather than be somebody who's painted, you don't even know who did the painting for it. So I think that's where the niche works very, very strongly, firstly. Uh, to give you an example, we worked with USP just now. They wanted a large event. They were launching a website, if you please. And website is something that you tell typically a client, there's no point in doing so because you are supposed to have a website. And a brand like USP definitely does need to have a website. But their logic was creating a independent website because they want to sell through that. But tell a journalist that they're launching a website to do that doesn't make sense. So a whole activity was created around it, 360 degree. We used a lot of corporate interviews. The Michael March, the USPA worldwide head, was in India. So with him, with Kulin, who's the Arvind Limited head, including Sailesh Chaturvedi, India head. So we did lots of interviews with them. And then we got, the campaign was Legends Forever, Play Together. We had Milind Soman, you had Arjun Rampal, who were ex-models coming together for the campaign. Then Mahesh Bhupati and Leander Pace coming together after they had whatever happened between them. But they came back for this campaign. So we used those pegs to create noise around it. We did endless influencers with each one of them with together. So we kept creating news around developing extra noise around whatever we did. Kingfisher calendar. When we launched Kingfisher calendar, we worked with it for 13 years. It became a surrogate for Kingfisher, in fact. But the whole idea was zero advertising, but purely PR. How do you keep selling the same thing again and again? We had to create new angles, and the TV show came, behind the scene pictures, models who didn't make it to the calendar. It was all across. People knew about Kingfisher calendar, and the whole thing about only 3,000 people get it. So the exclusivity. So you create those concepts, you create those ideas. I think it's all about being, since you belong to that space, you think better in that space. You can think what the client wants better than a generalist typically. I'm not saying it's always the case. A person is intelligent, I'm sure they can come up with great ideas, but it helps you because you have that experience to back it. You know what works, what doesn't work in lifestyle space. I certainly won't even touch pharma because I have really no clue. So I think that's the best example I can.
Hussain, Nandini, would you have another real-life example from, for a quick adaptation where a client came up to you for a specific need and you changed the way you look at things and work?
Yeah, so we are always changing the way that we work. But it always starts with where we are as an expert, right? So we start with content, when content is at the heart of everything, all kinds of communications, whether it's marketing or employee comms, internal comm, PR. You're always talking about what's the message, who do you want to reach, why, what do you want to achieve, which is factors known by everybody, right? So when we work independently as niche firms and we know each other's expertise, it's a very big opportunity to be agile, to provide services to a client, right? So in our world, what's most important is the client relationship. And a client also wants to work over a long time with an agency that gets them. Because I've been on the other side and I hated changing agencies. Our lives are difficult enough in comms. We don't want to change agencies. We want this person to say, I don't know it, but if you're willing to go the distance with me, I'll figure it out. And that's what we want as communications people. So that's the opportunity, that you have the relationship and we have all of this agility in the industry and we know who are the experts. So we do some projects which are integrated, okay, as it were, where we do the content first part of it, we help with the content strategy, but then we work with partners on the design, on the video, on the PR, on the media relations. And so we are only a team of writers, but we are being pivotal to help our client to manage a larger scheme of communications. And I think everybody has this opportunity, right? We can't be experts at everything. And we don't want to invest so much time and effort in developing, say, a different competency because somebody else has done that. In our team, we have maybe about 80 plus years of writing experience combined because we have senior expert writers. We cannot sit and invest again in that level of expertise for design or for production or for media relations. That level of expertise somebody else has already invested in. And so the opportunities collaborate. And so the agility comes up there, that to our client at a very good, let's say, economical rate. We're pulling together the best of people with decades of experience in design, decades of experience in PR, decades of experience in writing. All these people are experts in their field, and we're giving all of you, this client, all of these people, right? So it's fantastic. I think it works really well. And as an industry, that knowledge transfer, I think you're talking about, Nandita, hasn't happened, right? And so that's the challenge here. Until we figure out how to make all that knowledge transfer happen, the space is to be agile and collaborative in partnerships.
Right. You wanted to say something?
Just a quick, so real incident where, we worked with a big PSU client for 3 years, and the PSUs, they come up with an RFP on a tender basis. But quote unquote is like, for us, the non-independent are the big fours that we compete with. And it was very clear, the PSU, the team told, the known devil is better than an unknown this thing. So he said, like, we'll work out the technicalities in a way that, we want to stick to it and not, try hands. Because somebody who does not have an expertise, the big four are trying to do a lot of things, put their hands in all the ways. In investor relations also they're trying to do. In PR also they're trying to do, everything they're trying to do. But then at the end of the day, the clients realize, even if they want to go over the brand from the top management, they have a mandate, okay, let's try the big four for the brand perspective. 1 year, 2 years, and the clients realize that, okay, they are with the wrong, kind of agency or the company, the big four, and they come back to specialized people, to do the right job the way it is required.
Yeah, the next two aspects are not my favorite, but I like this one though. But client relationship, I feel, for independent PR firms is a beautiful area. I mean, I was at an event and the way my client introduced me to his circle, and I was like, wow, I'm not here, I'm there. So I felt so much as a team, and I'm like, I'm part of this. So the whole we part came in, and not just this is your responsibility. So I think it happens more often for independent PR firms where, again, I said, it's not a client agency rapport, it's a partnership, it's a result-driven, relationship. Any one of you wants to share a example where client relationship is the beautiful one with, your real examples?
Yeah, I mean, it's been 10 years, and we have had clients whom we are working, obviously, for 7-8 years continuously. They refer us to X number of clients. But the beautiful part of it is there's one client whom we have not worked with. We just had a pitch meeting with them. They could not X, Y, Z reasons, from whatever reason they could not work with us. That same client referred us to the other client. So that is the beauty of.
Yeah, so the intention was always good, and they liked you for what you are.
They can see through you as an independent agency or a professional that you are, and probably for their own restrictions, they were not able to work with you, but they're very confident that yes, this particular firm can do wonders. So they refer us, and and that continues. So that is what I feel.
How does it work in pharma?
I like to take that because that's a very important part in partnership, and result orientation is something that comes out, like somebody mentioned in one of the previous panels, I think Rishi did, that we try to solve a problem. Okay? So we kind of, when we meet the clients, we ask them, what's your problem and how do we want to solve it? And because we work across the PESO, so we are able to give them a solution that goes across. And that is what they value. There have been, one of the reasons why we have retained clients for a number of years is also because we have helped them solve those problems. And that has helped them succeed within their organization. Now, when they succeed because of us, okay, and they grow, when they move somewhere else, or they want to stay with us, and if they have another problem, they will call us. They will ask us, okay, what should we do for this? And when we are able to offer them solutions, that's where is the real success for us.
Yeah. Long back when I was working at IPAN and part of JWT, so in bigger group meetings, I would always complain to my account director and say that why is JWT treated as God? It's the advertising agency, and everybody's like worshipping them, and PR guys. I've had like my client, which was that time HUL hair care, Sunsilk, say nasty things to me then. So I was like, why are, PR guys over there? So that's, I'm just referring to the client, the whole rapport. So I think it shouldn't be an agency. We are your partners, and we are helping you sail through. We are in it together. So that should be the, I think, sentiment there.
I think what comes through is the industry knowledge. If they start respecting you for what you have to contribute, you understand the space that they belong to, and that's when they start listening to you. Otherwise, they're really not bothered, because what happens is the younger kids, they don't want to read, they don't want to Google the client, they just land up and then they try to talk to the CEO and then he brushes them aside. So that's very key, to understand the space they come to, the industry they belong to, and that's where the relationship starts. It's not being high, wonderful, catching up over a beer. It's more than that.
Yeah. Another close aspect is personalized attention. All of us in the room must have heard this from our clients saying, yeah, the faces that come for the meeting and then the faces we deal with throughout the year. This complaint hasn't died down only. So it's linked to client relationship part of that. So do you also, Amitabh, you were mentioning you go for all the strategy meetings and you're the face they see in the beginning. You continue to show up. But then there is a dilemma. If the senior most person showing up in every meeting, then who's doing the NBD? So how do we tackle that?
It's a big challenge. So, I mean, maybe it's a challenge of growth or scale, and that's definitely something that we're facing right now, so to be honest. It's like a journey to get the right combination of experience in your team, as well as the right investment in your team culture, and the right amount of mentorship from your senior people towards younger team members. And we were all young once. I know I was pretty clueless at my first job, right? And the only reason that I'm here today is because people invested in me. All through my career, they taught me, they mentored me, they guided me, they pointed out my mistakes. You know, so that is something that we have to consider as an obligation to anybody in our team and to academics, to college students. I think it's really important, right? Because there is a gap. Academics will only take you this much, but the industry is something else. Everything you learned in college is like out the window.
Yeah, it's on the job is where you learn.
Exactly. So you have to tell people, like, we have a young person on our team, it's his first job, and he's been working remotely all the time. So it's as simple as, because he's never been in corporate culture, he doesn't know what R&R is. But that we take it for granted, it's reward and recognition, everybody knows that. No, he doesn't, he came from college. You have to explain every bit of jargon to him and you have to understand his world. So I think that's really...
Thank you, Nandini. I've just been told we have 5 minutes remaining. I don't know where did the time go, and we're yet to come to the fun part of it. So please, 9 minutes, thank you. We'll take 9. This is a would you rather question, and you're only allowed the options I give you, no explanation, no elaboration. I will tell you who the question's aimed at. So, Amitabh, would you rather have a small, tight-knit team or a large, expansive team with more resources?
Always, small is beautiful.
Priti, would you rather secure a one-time massive campaign for a global brand or multiple smaller, long-term clients?
Both. No, that's because you can't have that choice. Both go hand in hand.
Okay, we'll take that. Hussain, would you rather invest in cutting-edge PR technology or in building stronger client relationships?
I always believe EQ is playing a much bigger role than IQ today, and I will any given day invest in EQ. IQ is by give and take, and we can invest in processes, structure, knowledge, training, everything. But if you're investing your team in terms of building that EQ with the client, that goes a long way.
Okay. Nandini, would you rather lead a boutique firm with creative freedom or manage a large firm with greater reach?
Okay, so speaking personally, I would like to do the large firm thing because I believe we have an industry obligation, right? And the field that we're in, it requires us to invest in systems, in processes, in teaching, in like scale. And if we can get as many people as possible into what we are doing, I think that's a good situation. I like the creativity and freedom of being in a tight, small-knit team, but I think that's the challenge that we should aspire to.
We like challenges. Hussain, would you rather have a reputation for innovation or reliability? Ooh.
I think I'll strike a balance between both.
See, they're all being so diplomatic.
So yeah, the reliability will be a result of the back-end innovation that everybody's spoken about. So we invest in processes and everything, innovate, but not with clients, and that reliability will build onto that.
Both you want. Amitabh, would you rather secure media coverage in a top-tier outlet or build a strong grassroots campaign? Like, do you want an ET front page or you want to work with the...
No, that would really depend on the client I'm working with. So if it's Lancome, then
I'll cut it short. You...
We're speaking like comms people
if
here,
it's
aren't
something
we?
else, then of course a PNG client and Arial Tide, I want mass.
Nandini, in favor of taking... Who's that? In favor of taking help from AI for proposals, fresh ideas, content, what percentage? Same thing.
Taking help from AI, definitely. Fresh ideas, people.
What percentage?
I would say 35 to 40% AI, but 70% human interaction. Like, it should be you who's getting it across and understanding things, but helping yourself by using AI is fine.
Okay, Priti, would you rather maintain complete control over your firm or shared decision making with partners?
Shared. Nobody can grow without.
Hussain, would you ever consider a flat structure or no hierarchy in your firm? Go for it.
No, we'll go for a hierarchy. We're trying to identify, functional heads rather, one shoe fits all. So we need to have a hierarchy system to grow together. Otherwise, it will not work.
Has anyone worked here in a no hierarchy flat structure firm? Oh, you also have a flat structure? Okay.
We say very thin line dividing the people, that's it.
Next is for you. Would you ever have an intern working on a new business pitch deck? Would you ever have an intern or entry level working on a new business pitch?
Absolutely, depends on the ability of the person. I'll always get them to make the first cut for sure.
Beautiful. I was always given this opportunity. I think that helps the most. Nandini, would you ever introduce the concept of timesheets again?
I
Cringe.
don't like them, but I definitely would.
You would?
I would, because quantifying capability, quantifying resource, quantifying expertise, quantifying time spent on something, it's the very basis of our business, is what we are learning right now, Rajshri and I, and we're babies in the business. But how do you quantify it, right? It's in terms of time and expertise. Like, if a certain project requires 2 hours of a director level time and so many hours of somebody else's time, and then how do you cost it and how do you justify that to your client, right? You need to be able to have some framework to give them, and if there's some other better framework, we'd love it. But from the client level and then from the personal level, the team level, right? You need to be accountable for your time. This is independent niche firms are businesses, right? You cannot just take your salary and sit down, unfortunately. So if you are accountable for your time and you are looking at something, I've spent this much time on this, should I have, shouldn't I have? How creative should my process be? It's introspective. As a writer, I could write something for 5 days, and I could also write something for 1 day or 3 hours, and it could be the same thing. Now, is the value translating, right? Is the client paying me this much to spend 5 days of my time to write that wonderful thing, which is well researched, brilliantly done, like, oh, I've put my heart and soul into it, but the client's not paying that much. So in that case, I need to go back and say, this one, just do whatever you can in this time. So spend no more than 3 or 4 hours on this project. So quantifying things from both sides, I think it helps.
Sure, you have your reasons. Priti, would you stick to a hybrid model of working or never again?
Hybrid.
Oh, beautiful. Nandini, working in silos or call for a team meeting?
Team meetings.
Why am I silos? Okay, all of you. Would you ever, at this stage of your professional journey, consider joining a top-tier role in any one of the leading global companies, let's say Boeing? Anything.
In fact, I've been telling Mino Handa, who's heads Google Asia Pacific now for Copcom, give me a job because I'm very free. Literally. And I begged her 3 times till now. But what I suddenly realized is that she's not going to offer it anyway. So I started spending my energies in getting networking with independent companies across. So now we're part of Travel and Lifestyle Network, which actually specializes in travel and lifestyle. So we pitch together, we coordinate with each other for various things.
Okay, that's that.
We've been working for 10 years building a team, and we're growing as a team and everything. Yeah, if Nothing less than a CEO position.
Nandini, would you say yes or no?
I like what I'm doing now. So at the moment, no.
Priti, no.
I've been on the other side of the business already, so I don't want to be there.
All right, that's all from us. If there are questions from the audience, thank you.
No questions. I'm
Then
gonna
we
say
would like to
thank
get
you very
clicked.
much. Is there one
Oh, sorry,
question
yes,
out back?
Sandeep.
One question? Don't be shy.
Thank you very much. Hi, I'm Sandeep. I'm with OneSource.
Sandeep, louder.
Hi, I'm Sandeep. I'm with a community and a firm called OneSource, right? Both different. Question here, we were speaking of hierarchy earlier. I haven't worked with a firm that hasn't had a hierarchy, but I have read a book called Founder's Mentality that says at max 13 to 14% of people actually have what it takes to think like a founder at any firm. I think all of us value those people, really value those people. So question here, does hierarchy really matter? Because I'll be honest, there are freshers on my team who hustle as much as I do with my waistline, right? And show the same kind of founder's mentality. So my question is, does it really matter whether you're an associate consultant or a CEO, as long as the mentality is in place? So what I'm trying to say is the mentality more important or the designation? That's my question.
I'll take it. It's definitely the mentality. Because the younger people who have it in them, they will grow faster, obviously, because they have that mentality and they will take on more responsibility because they understand that. And people who are at a very senior level and you still don't have the mentality, they will be out in no time.
So yeah, I think mentality is one, but I think if you don't have the hierarchy, as an organization, me and my co-founder, sadly she's not here unfortunately, but what we have done and what she has largely done is that we have created hierarchies, function heads. Let's be very honest, as a founder, co-founder and CEO, whatever we may call ourselves, what we think, even while we are half asleep or early in the mornings, the fresher or anyone will not be able to think at that level 24/7. But the best thing what we can do is give a designation, create a hierarchy, give them their functional responsibility, let them think on that one part of the job, what they are good at. So in that ways you're able to divide your different functions, and you as an eagle perspective can focus on a larger picture of life.
I think it's how you look at hierarchy, right? And the function of hierarchy. It's not so much that you need to have somebody who's supervising everything that you do. It's that you need to have somebody, because you can't be in all the places at one time. And so when you enable or empower your hierarchy with the right spirit, the right culture, the right performance incentives or KPIs, that the hierarchy enables growth. So it shouldn't be sort of like an enforcement mechanism. It should be sort of like a way to align, streamline, encourage, nurture. Yeah, to go in the same path together, right? So it's a bit of how you look at that as well.
For me, mentality is great, but experience is missing. I mean, you may have the mentality, which is fabulous, but that experience adds to be able to solve problems. So that factor has to come in at some point, which your seniors can give you. I don't say because he is a better designation, he'll give it to you. Anybody who has that experience can add to it.
We have one question coming. Mr. Jolly. Pehle aap.
In the hierarchy, he's ahead. So since a lot of content-related things have been discussed, and traditionally a lot of our bread and butter comes from content. I met a slightly uncharitable person a few days ago who said content was king, content is dead. Content was king, content is now dead. Because the ChatGPT or other tools, as they get very sophisticated in the next 6 months, 9 months, 1 year, neither the architect will have a job because he also creates some kind of content, or a lawyer, or a writer, or a copywriter, or a filmmaker, or an editor. Most of us will be relatively in bad shape. And then he quoted, like a philosopher, something about Iliad, Homer who wrote the Iliad. He said 7 towns for Homer dead, while the living Homer begged his bread. And his point was content guys don't make money. In the Indian context, he said about from Premchand to anybody, they never made money. So does content really have a future anymore?
I think content is and was and will always be king. Let's be very honest. We are talking about ChatGPT and whatever the content is. They have the science behind it. They pick up and give you that content on whatever has been published historically. But tomorrow what you'll write and today what you'll write, that has not been published. So I think the humans cannot be replaced in terms of, putting that content perspective, the narrative of what a chairman or a CEO what has to write. That ChatGPT will never be able to capture that. So maybe it'll do 10% of it, as everybody agrees, but 90% I don't think. And that learning, continuously evolution, content cannot be replaced by an AI, is my personal opinion.
I think it's a tough one, right? Honestly, like there is definitely some content which, what's the purpose of content? The content that is intended to cheat the system will be done by ChatGPT, right? Nobody is reading that except Google and its algorithms. So better let that be created by ChatGPT or any associated AI. But the content that is intended to really reach an audience, okay? And I don't mean just written content. If we extrapolate to what we do as an industry, like you want to connect with an audience in a certain way, build a brand, build loyalty, all of those larger objectives. That is a much more complex approach to content, right? How do you make sure that what you're saying is reaching in a format that people are consuming it, understanding and feeling something by it? That cannot be replaced because those are based on fundamental human feelings, fundamental human insights about how the society works, how the community works, what's happening, how are people engaging around them, what challenges they're facing. It's very human. So content in its literal form, like, can this article be written better by ChatGPT? Yes, probably, maybe, in 2025, as I was made aware today by Rishi. So maybe, but there's more to content, and that human angle won't change. So when we talk to people, we tell them, look, give us a spokesperson, give us 15 minutes with your spokesperson. And in that 15 minutes with that spokesperson, whatever random thought is in their head, it results in something you have never found on Google. And I've seen this throughout my life, like in 20, 25 years of writing. One person's thought shared with you, you cannot find over hours of research on Google. That is original thought leadership, and humans have it by virtue of being human. That's just it. It's just what I wanted to share.
I don't have
Mr. Jolly.
Okay. So I will just add to what Madan was asking. Basically, in content, as it has gone through transformation, and there's no better person than Javed Akhtar when you talk about content, right? So we were in Bombay with him for a while, and what he said was that he had to go through many changes to look at the reality of content. We are talking about more of business journalism, so today data is the king, and if you add the data to your content and make it more relevant, believe me, everybody wants it. But it's how you relate that data to what that person is asking and not what you are throwing at him. Because what you're going to throw at him, he don't want to accept it. So know his mind, so you can't live in an isolation on what the other person wants and what data or content you throw at him. I think that's an important one. So I just thought I would. But my question was different. So last point, which is, so you talked about if you wanted to join a multinational company. So I have worked with the best multinational companies of India, headed them, had the perks, did everything, seen it all. But what I'm finding in the last 7 years as an entrepreneur, I keep telling to myself, why didn't I do it earlier? And that is what keeps me going, because that is what is all about an entrepreneur. I may be doing PR now, I may be doing something else, but what you are an advisor to your client, and keep that in mind.
So the first...
no more Google, huh? Okay.
The first word we started with was freedom, and that stands very dear to all of us in the room. Yeah.
Thank you for that.